Trying to explain the lore of Warhammer 40,000 in a single video is like reading one page from an infinite library and expecting to understand the whole thing. It is like fitting an ocean into a bottle, but I believe it is still possible to create a general understanding of its immensity. A small gateway that sparks curiosity and opens the door to an entire universe filled with cosmic horror, military epics, and tragedy on a galactic scale, where even the good factions are brutal, and where peace is not a goal, but a forgotten fantasy. A future where there is no salvation, only incredible stories about how everyone keeps fighting anyway. Because in this universe, there is no victory, there is no peace, only survival. And this is its story. Humanity's journey to conquer the stars began 39,000 years ago. In the year 969 of the second millennium of the human era, mankind first set foot on the moon. In the year 100 of the third millennium, the terraforming of Mars began. In the year 200 of the third millennium, humanity officially started the colonization of planets beyond Earth. In the fourth millennium, humanity discovered the warp, but it was not until the 16th millennium that mankind truly left the solar system and ventured into the deeper cosmos.
Wait! You mentioned the warp, but what exactly is it?
Who the hell are you?
Me? Well, someone who wants to understand the lore of Warhammer 40,000.
All right. The warp, also known as the Immaterium or the Empyrean, is an alternate dimension composed of pure energy, with its own physical laws used for interstellar travel, since it allows the laws of time and space to be bypassed, though not without significant risks. It is a sea of psychic energy that reacts to the thoughts and emotions of living beings. Its nature is chaotic because collective emotions, fear, rage, desire, hope, form patterns that can crystallize into conscious entities, such as the demons of chaos. In the 41st millennium, the constant intensity of war, suffering, and human conflict has contributed to these entities becoming more numerous and influential, but it is not their only cause. The warp is an element we will explore in more depth later, in the future.
Wow, thanks for the clarification. Very educational. You can continue the narration.
Before humanity began using the warp for travel, human ships could only move at sublight speeds, crawling through the immense void, and journeys between colonies required 10 generations to complete. The colonies were forced to develop independently, cut off from Earth in what became known as the Dark Age of Technology, until humanity finally invented warp travel technology in the 21st millennium. Age of Strife. In the years that followed, humanity conquered space in giant strides, and the planet Earth came to be known as Terra. Yet despite this apparent age of growth and prosperity, an internal conflict was beginning to take shape. Humanity was plunged into endless civil wars, and by the 26th millennium, war erupted between mankind and its own machines. The rebellion known as the Men of Iron Revolt, which ended with the destruction of all robots. However, after this, massive warp storms began to spread across the galaxy, disrupting interstellar travel and severing communication between human colonies. Thus began the Age of Strife, an era in which isolated human worlds struggled against hostile environments and alien races fighting desperately on the brink of extinction. Even Terra itself, devastated by resource shortages and overpopulation, descended into civil war, where billions of humans perished through conflict and famine. On Mars, an organization known as the Cult Mechanicus survived by taking refuge beneath the planet's surface, preserving fragments of ancient technology. They constructed enormous starships and titans and slowly began the recolonization of outer space. The Unification Wars began and ended during the 30th millennium of human history. The Emperor of Mankind, who had remained hidden for countless ages, witnessed glorious terror consumed by flames during the Age of Strife, reduced to a wasteland ruled by techno-barbarians. At last, the Emperor chose to step forward and reunify human civilization. And terror would be the starting point. The Emperor created the Adeptus Custodes as his personal bodyguards and the Thunder Warriors as his primary military force. Thus began the campaign to unify Terra. After decades of brutal warfare, the Emperor succeeded in uniting the planet and founded the Imperium of Man. However, the Thunder Warriors, who had formed the backbone of his armies, suffered from severe mental instability. To fulfill his dream of restoring human civilization, the Emperor needed warriors who were stronger, more disciplined, and more stable. This led to the creation of the Astartes Project, which gave birth to the Space Marines and the 20 Primarchs. The Great Crusade. It was in the 30th millennium that the era of the Imperium began. The flame of human resurgence would finally be ignited by the greatest figure of them all, the Emperor of Mankind. No one knows his origin, nor what his true name is. But it did not matter. His wisdom and knowledge were unmatched, and his power and psychic abilities were unrivaled. The Adeptus Mechanicus reveres him as the incarnation and messenger of the machine god, the final savior of humanity. He created the Space Marine legions and their demigod Primarchs. With the dispersal of the warp storms, the Emperor set in motion a grand plan intended to unite all of humanity and guide it in the exploration of the stars. His goal was to bring under a single rule the fragmented human worlds scattered across the galaxy. This great undertaking is known as the Great Crusade. During the following 200 years, the Emperor and his warriors reunified the scattered colonies under the banner of the Imperium. The Emperor's armies expanded its borders, reuniting long-lost human worlds, driving out alien threats and saving humanity from the darkness. It was an era in which humanity, united under the Emperor's standard, regained its ancient glory. And most importantly, hope. The Great Crusade had begun. During this period, the Emperor rediscovered his lost sons, the Primarchs, who had been scattered across the galaxy. Using his own DNA as a foundation, the Emperor created 20 Primarchs within laboratories on Luna. Each possessed superhuman physiques, as well as strength and intelligence far beyond that of ordinary mortals, though their temperaments varied greatly. From the genetic material of the Primarchs, the 20 Space Marine legions were created. However, while the Primarchs were still infants, a sudden warp storm tore them away from the Emperor and scattered them across the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Throughout the Great Crusade, the Emperor found them one by one during his campaigns, reuniting with his lost sons and brothers over the course of 200 years. Each Primarch was given command of a Space Marine legion created from his own gene seed. Thus, playing a vital role in the construction of their father's Imperium. The Primarchs led their sons into battle and fought across every corner of the galaxy, making the enemies of the Imperium taste the Emperor's wrath. Their great deeds are still sung by the citizens of the Imperium to this day. Records concerning the 2nd Legion and its Primarch, as well as the 11th Legion and its Primarch, were erased during the Great Crusade. The exact reasons remain unknown, and even the Primarchs themselves maintain a deep silence on the matter. As a result, by the end of the Great Crusade, the Imperium possessed only 18 legions. The Horus Heresy. Horus. He was the first Primarch to be found by the Emperor during the Great Crusade. He was the most respected among his brothers, and when the Emperor of mankind decided to return to Terra, he entrusted Horus with command of the Imperial forces and the responsibility of leading the Great Crusade in his name. The Emperor granted Horus the title of War Master, declaring that from that moment onward, it would be his sons who would demonstrate their exceptional ability to lead. After withdrawing from direct military command on the front lines, the Emperor established the tithe system and laid the foundations for what would later become the Council of the High Lords of Terra, extending the Imperium's administrative apparatus across all its domains. While the Emperor worked on an ambitious project deep within the Imperial Palace, intended to free humanity from its dependence on the warp, Horus, War Master of the Imperium and Primarch of the Lunar Wolves Legion, was wounded and ultimately corrupted by the powers of chaos from the Immaterium. Consumed by this influence, he turned against his father, unleashing a war of betrayal known as the Horus Heresy. Half of the Space Marine legions, along with countless Imperial soldiers and elements of the Adeptus Mechanicus, joined his rebellion. The traitors first clashed in bloody battles against their own brothers who still remained loyal to the Imperium. Once the loyal elements within the traitor legions had been eliminated or corrupted, the rebels turned their attention to the entirety of the Imperium of mankind, plunging it into a galaxy-wide war. Meanwhile, the loyal legions fought desperate battles on multiple fronts, some severely weakened by internal betrayal. Others, such as the Ultramarines, the Dark Angels, and the Space Wolves, were isolated by the warp and unable to return to Terra in time. On Mars, the Adeptus Mechanicus split into civil war, with vast Titan legions battling for control of the Forge world, while humanity's accumulated knowledge was consumed by flames. Eventually, the traitor forces reached Terra and laid siege to the Imperial Palace, shouting, "Death to the false Emperor!" The climax came during the Siege of Terra, when the Emperor defeated Horus with his own hands, though he was mortally wounded in the process. He was placed upon the Golden Throne, a psychic life support sarcophagus, and enthroned upon Holy Terra. Thus ended the era of the Emperor and the active Primarchs, although humanity still awaits the day he may awaken. Many believe his will continues to guide the Imperium from the Golden Throne. After the war, Robute Guilliman, Primarch of the Ultramarines Legion and the most skilled statesman among the 20 Primarchs, led the reconstruction of the Imperium. In this process, he was the principal architect behind the compilation of the Codex Astartes, which laid the foundations for the Imperium's future military and organizational system. One of his most significant reforms was the division of the old Space Marine Legions. These were to be broken up into multiple chapters of roughly 1,000 battle brothers. Only one of them would retain the name and direct heritage of the original legion, while the others would adopt new identities, colors, and traditions. This reorganization aimed to decentralize the power of the Astartes within the Imperium and prevent any single military force from concentrating enough power to repeat a catastrophe like the Horus Heresy.
What a great story! But I think people want to know what lies beyond the Imperium, what is hidden in this dark universe.
That's exactly what I was about to talk about now.
Oops, I'm sorry, Master.
Should have become a baker. The Chaos Gods. Previously, we described the warp as the dark reflection of the material universe, an ocean of chaos where emotions take physical form as demonic entities. Well, it is also the home of the Chaos Gods, also known as the Ruinous Powers, immensely powerful beings formed from the emotions, fears, and desires of all living beings in the galaxy. They seek to expand their influence by corrupting the material universe. The four major gods are Khorne, the blood god and god of war. He feeds on violence, hatred, rage, and the murderous frenzy of mortals. He is the embodiment of the worst aspects of conflict, the struggle pushed to its bloodiest extremes. Tzeentch, the architect of fate and god of sorcery, he represents change, ambition, manipulation, conspiracies, and hope. From within the warp, he exerts his influence over the mortal realm through subtle deception, intricate schemes, and carefully orchestrated manipulation. Nurgle, the Lord of Decay, rules over disease, plague, and corruption, but also over endurance, perseverance, and rebirth. He feeds upon the fear of death, despair, and the suffering of mortals, offering in return a twisted form of comfort and acceptance. Slaanesh, the Prince of Excess. Slaanesh embodies pleasure, obsession, hedonism, greed, and depravity in all its forms. The most recent of the Chaos Gods to emerge, Slaanesh was born from the decadence and excesses of the ancient Eldar civilization. Slaanesh feeds upon unrestrained desire and the obsessive pursuit of perfection and extreme sensations, slowly corrupting those who surrender to their deepest impulses. Xenos Species. Humanity sought to expand among the stars, but that dream soon became a path filled with obstacles. The colonization of new worlds was not a peaceful journey. It inevitably led to contact with multiple alien races. These species, known as Xenos, represent a wide variety of non-human civilizations considered a threat to the Imperium. The main Xenos races are as follows. Tyranids, an alien race originating from outside the galaxy, driven by an insatiable, ravenous hunger. They operate as a hive mind and consume all biomass on the planets they pass through. Everything in the Tyranid ecosystem is alive, including their weapons and ammunition. They are predators that see all other species only as raw material needed to survive and reproduce. It could be said that the Tyranids are the enemies of the entire galaxy. Necrons, ancient mechanical warriors with bodies of living metal who ruled the galaxy millions of years ago. They have awakened from their long slumber to reclaim their ancient empire. Their existence began under the sign of a terrible, merciless star millions of years before humanity first appeared on Terra. Orcs, a brutal, warlike fungal species. They grow from spores, revel in war for sheer enjoyment, and possess a technology and psychic gestalt capable of making machines work in ways that defy the laws of physics. Orcs are among the toughest and most savage fighters in a universe defined by endless war. To Empire, a young, technological, and rapidly expanding civilization. They believe in the greater good and seek to unite other species under their banner, whether through diplomacy or conquest. Eldari, an ancient, elegant and decadent race whose empire collapsed millennia ago. They are masters of psychic ability and advanced technology and are known for traveling aboard vast craft worlds. Once they ruled the galaxy, but they are now a dying species. They have lost their main homeworlds and are scattered across the stars, divided into several subcultures. Drukhari, sadistic kin of the Eldari who dwell in the labyrinthine city of Komara. They feed on the suffering and pain of other beings in order to stave off the decay and death of their souls. Epilogus. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. This is perhaps the most iconic phrase in Warhammer 40,000. Beneath those words lie 10,000 years of tragedy, ruined empires, endless wars, and a humanity condemned to fight eternally for its survival in a galaxy consumed by fanaticism, chaos, and death. The current state of the Imperium is nothing more than a decaying shadow of what it once aspired to be. The days of expansion and hope, when humanity dreamed of unifying the galaxy under a single banner, are long gone. That age of conquest, ambition, and possibility, when the Emperor still guided mankind and envisioned a future free from dependence on the warp, has faded into a distant memory, now wrapped in nostalgia and tragedy. Today, the Imperium of Man is a colossal civilization on the brink of permanent collapse. Though it dominates millions of worlds, it is besieged by external enemies, endless wars, internal corruption, and the insidious forces of chaos, always ready to corrupt the weak. What was once the dream of a united and rational humanity has become a theocratic, militarized, and deeply decayed regime where countless lives are sacrificed every day simply to ensure the survival of the species. The Emperor of mankind is, in essence, a living corpse, an existence suspended between life and death, eternally bound to the life support systems of the Golden Throne. Unable to communicate or respond like a normal human being, his immense psychic power remains the only thing holding the Imperium of Man together. Even in this state, however, he continues to perform vital functions for humanity's survival, holding back the forces of chaos and sustaining the Astronomicon, the colossal psychic beacon that guides Imperial ships through the warp. If the Emperor dies, humanity will collapse into extinction. In the 41st millennium, humanity does not fight to conquer the galaxy. It fights to survive one more day. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like and a comment. This has been the Chronicler speaking to you, and I'll see you in future videos. For the Emperor.
Yes, for the Emperor!